that idea. Acromion process. Coracoid process, we slide back here just a little bit. You see how the clavicle kind of goes concave there and dips back towards the body? If you go about an inch down, the bump that shoves out at you is your coracoid process, okay? So from the concave portion of the clavicle, about an inch down, right over there is the coracoid process. Coracoid process is going to end up being our palpation point for quite a few of these different palpations. All of the musculature that attaches there or originates there, that's about the only spot you're going to be able to palpate it, okay? And again, kind of indirect because everything is over everything else. We come back out here to the cap of the shoulder, directly underneath our AC joint's here. Directly underneath here is going to end up being our humeral head, okay? We're going to palpate all the way around and through. Depending on how pronounced somebody's deltoid is, it is difficult to find the humeral head. If you have them relax as much as possible and kind of come in here, you can give a little bit of a squeeze to see if you're, and palpate the humeral head indirectly that way. With somebody who doesn't have like very overdeveloped triceps, very overdeveloped deltoids, it's not really necessary to do that. You're just gonna palpate through the cap of the shoulder right in through here. Humerus is all the way down, making sure we palpate all the different points. This is just a general palpation just to check integrity. From our AC joint here, we're going to be able to come down the anterior portion of the arm to find the bicipital groove, okay? It is not as far down as people think it is. It's probably about only an inch down from the acromion process. So we're only going about here. We're not going down here. This is the biggest mistake people make. They think it's down here, okay? It's up here. In order to expose the bicipital groove a little bit more, if you put them in a little bit of, there you go, little bit of extension, you're actually able to feel a little bit more of the difference between the greater and lesser tuberosities, sorry, all the same thing, tuberosities, okay? The greater tuberosity, once you find that bicipital groove, the greater tuberosity is going to be on the lateral side. The lesser is going to be on the medial side. Greater, lesser, groove. What is the ligament that holds the groove, or the bicipital long head in the groove?
The transverse humeral.
Transverse humeral ligament. If I ask you to palpate transverse humeral ligament, you're just going to palpate right in the groove. Exact same spot, okay? Okay, for musculature, right now we've done all of the bony palpations up through here, right? I'm going to shift down to the muscular palpations for the anterior and lateral sides, and then go into both the bony and the musculature for the back. So, starting from the very front, we have our pec major that fills the entire portion here, right? Pec major comes in through here, attaches on the humerus. We're going to be able to palpate the muscular belly, and that's about it, okay? For our pec minor, the only spot we are actually going to be able to palpate pec minor is at the coracoid process where it attaches. So palpating the coracoid process is what I want you to do if I ask you to palpate pec minor, okay? Once again, curve of the scapula, or clavicle and down is going to be coracoid process. If they start flinching because you're pressing right there, you're probably in the right spot. It doesn't feel very good to have your coracoid process palpated. On the lateral side, we have our upper trap that comes down and through. That's the larger portion of the musculature that you're going to be able to see here. Everything else is going to be underneath the upper trap. You're probably not going to be able to feel a whole lot. We have our sternocleidomastoid coming in through here. We have our scalenes coming in through here, okay? Not too concerned about those for this course. Just understand that they're coming down and impacting things through here too, okay? On the cap of the shoulder, our deltoids form this nice cap of our shoulder here. They almost kind of come in like this, okay? All of them are gonna attach at the deltoid tubercle. Anterior is in front, middle is on the side, posterior is in back. Pretty easy to remember. For biceps, there's gonna be three different things I want you to palpate. The biceps muscle belly is gonna be down and through here, right? The long head of the biceps is what travels up and through the groove. You're probably going to have to palpate up through the groove once again for the long head of the biceps. And then the short head of the biceps, again, attaches to the coracoid process. It runs underneath all of the musculature to be able to attach to the coracoid process. So those three spots are what I'm gonna ask you to palpate if I ask you to palpate biceps, okay? I might just say, palpate the insertion point of the short head. I might just say palpate the long head of the biceps, and that's through the groove. I might say palpate the biceps muscle belly, okay? That's how we're gonna work it for biceps.
It was a coracoid process?
Coracoid process again.
You would just go up.
You palpate the coracoid process again.
Okay.
Yeah, no, so you won't be able to track it up to the coracoid process. You just have to palpate the coracoid process again.
So for the bicep head, it's by the bicipital groove?
The long head of the
Long
biceps
head.
is groove.
Long head.
Short head attachment point is coracoid process. So I'll give you a specific palpation I want you to do related to the biceps if that's what I'm gonna have you do, okay? Okay. Can you flip around?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So posterior, I'm going to start on this side and come through. Okay. So we have our humor, the posterior humerus back here. The only thing I'm concerned about on the posterior humerus is going to be the triceps. You're just going to palpate the triceps muscle belly. You're not going to palpate each of the three heads because there's way too much stuff crossing it, okay? Posterior deltoid, once again, is back in through here. For bony palpations on the back, for the shoulder, we're concerned mostly with the scapula itself, okay? There's a bunch of different palpation points that we're going to do for the scapula itself. So the first two that we're going to try and find are angles, okay? So we have our inferior angle, which is the posterior point of the scapula. We have our lateral border. We have our medial border. We have our superior angle, which is partially covered by, again, our upper trap. So we're not going to be able to feel that very well. The spine comes out through this way. Okay, so the broad bony piece you feel right in through here is spine of the scapula. Spine of the scapula gives us a starting point for all of our technically indirectly palpable rotator cuff muscles. Okay, the two that we are going to be able to palpate are supraspinatus, which is in the supraspinous fossa up here, and infraspinatus, which is right over the entire body of the scapula. The medial border is sometimes also called the what? What do you think? Which kind of border? What's another name for medial border of the scapula?
Middle.
Good guess.
Spinal.
Close. Vertebral. Okay. So we have our vertebral border, and then what would this one be?
Thoracic.
Okay.
Good ideas. It's axillary border. Okay, so it's close to the armpit. Axillary. Okay. So lateral border, axillary border. You're going to hear it said both ways. So make sure that you know that those are interchangeable. Medial border, vertebral border are also interchangeable. Inferior angle, superior angle, spine of the scapula, supraspinatus, infraspinatus. For the larger muscle groups on the back here, we have our levator scapulae, which we learned from spine. We also have our rhomboids that come at an angle up like this, okay? The rhomboids are primarily responsible for protraction, retraction of the shoulder, but they are going to be deep to our bigger muscle bellies in the middle delt and the posterior deltoid, okay? Deltoid, trap. Upper trap is here, middle trap is here, lower trap is here. It forms a trapezoid. That's why it's called trap.
Really?
I didn't know that.
Really?
Yeah,
Hence name.
that's smart.
Learn something new every day. Underneath or inferior to our trapezius or trapezoid, inferior to our trapezoid is going to end up being our lats, which are the large portion through here. Teres major is going to take up this little tiny space right here. If you go from the lateral border or the axillary border and palpate towards the humerus, right in through here is teres major, okay? Teres minor runs the exact same spot, it's just deep to teres major. You're not going to be able to directly palpate it. The only pieces that are left are the posterior and anterior ribs and serratus anterior. So luckily they're at the same spot. So we're gonna palpate down and through, making sure we follow each rib around the bottom of the rib cage. This is also where serratus anterior runs. Where does serratus anterior insert?
No,
Sternum.
no, the spine, wasn't it?
The scapula.
Mm-hmm. Where on the scapula? Do we know?
The superior.
No, inferior.
Where does serratus anterior insert?
Axillary border. Am I saying those right?
You're saying it right, but pick the other one.
Vertebral.
So serratus anterior actually comes up beneath the, if this is my scapula, it comes around this way and attaches right in here. So when you're trying to punch forward and protract your shoulder forward, that's serratus anterior is what's allowing you to do that. So when it contracts, it moves it forward. So serratus anterior is important for that reason. Other than that, I don't really know why you need to know the serratus anterior, but here we are, okay? The only other thing that I did not mention in through here was that for our subscapularis, the only spot we're gonna be able to palpate it is its insertion point. Where does it insert?
Wait, what?
Subscapularis, the only part we're gonna be able to palpate it is its insertion point. Where does it insert? There you go, lesser tuberosity, okay? So on the front. Questions about palpations?
No.
Okay, so I want you to go through and practice palpation.